situated now.
Yeah, we are. Much more comfy now.
Yeah, so before we get going today, we just want to take the time, as always, to shout out Will.
Yeah, of course. And our pals over at Joker Inc. We're not able to have this set up without you, man. So we just want to give a shout out to Joker Inc. Any type of screen printing, embroidery, promotional products, anything, pretty much anything for your business to promote it, he can finagle his way into. So if you're in that market for something, we really appreciate him. He does great work. Please reach out. All his stuff will be in the description.
Yep, thank you, Will.
As always.
Yeah. So now we'll get into our second advertisement by Wim Hof. We'll do some breathing.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. Did you meditate today?
Always.
I didn't. I woke up and just went, you know.
You want to do a guided meditation right now? You want me to guide you through meditating?
Why not? We could.
I don't know how this is going to go, but if you're listening and you want to join us,
Yeah.
so take a deep breath in real quick. Sit back, close your eyes, let your breath get louder than your thoughts. Take a minute.
And when that don't work, I take a second to breathe, yeah. Breathe in, breathe out. Couple rain clouds ain't gon' get me down. I say, breathe in, breathe out. I'm getting back to me. All the things I do, all the things I say, all the times I took a chance, all of the mistakes I made, none of it matters. None of it matters at all. All the things I do, all the things I say, all the times I get knocked down, all the times I find a way, all of it matters. All of it matters.
It's amazing what a few breaths can do, isn't it?
Yeah, man, always take that time. Be
Yeah.
present in the moment.
We got to get in the habit of doing that before we hop on the podcast, too.
Yeah.
You know? But whatever.
We'll start the video after. If you're listening, you're going to listen to it.
It fits into the vibe of our podcast.
Yeah, man. So, me and you talked a little bit the other day about journaling and writing.
Yeah.
And then I talked about how I wanted to get more into writing in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
And I've already taken the steps to start doing that. I've been writing a little bit more and more every day.
Nice.
And
Good for you, man.
me and you both read The Surrender Experiment. And I think a lot of that stuff is coming back to me right now.
Mm-hmm.
Just like letting go. I was kind of getting antsy, I feel like, with a lot of my life, like especially with work, like, you know, about that, like how I was getting frustrated with it a little bit. And I just really sat back and like looked at why I was getting upset about it. And I think it was more so thought patterns that I had ingrained in my head at my previous job that I were letting come out at my current job, and it wasn't mixing well. So I've just been like writing, and that the word surrender keeps coming up over and over and over again. And it's just like letting go and just being like, this is the moment, this is the way it's supposed to be right now. Like, there's no point of resisting it. The universe set this up this way. Like, if I try and fight it, it's me fighting against the universe. Like, I'm at where I'm at, and that's where I need to be at. And there's no way around it. So, with that in mind, like, how have you been letting go of things lately? Anything that you've been trying to let go of?
I mean, I'm always trying to let go of the past in general, you know. I have a very hard habit of overthinking things, and often that overthinking blends with like you let everything that's ever happened to you, and usually it's not the good stuff. Usually it's like the stuff that has hurt you, or the stuff that has damaged you, or the stuff that didn't make you feel good. And when you combine those two things, it gets real insane in there. Mm-hmm. And when you're doing that, I think a big important factor is that if you're locked into that mindset, you're not open to new opportunities or what could come to you. Mm-hmm. And when you let everything that's happened to you in your past just get like, well, that's the only thing. That's the only option. That's the only way that things could go. You're not surrendering. You're not. And obviously, like we talk a lot about like, yeah, you got to surrender, but you also got to take action on things that you want to do, you know? A lot of the surrendering is letting go of the things that are out of your control. And for myself, it gets very exhausting to like, you know, we talked about it in in a couple episodes ago, that like when you let what's happened to you in your past just continuously impact what's going to go forward, you could be missing out on awesome things. And the way I try to let go is asking myself that question of, can I do something about this or not? If it's something with work, or it's something with, you know, something that's outside of what you control, you can't have this like locked in feeling about like how you're the one responsible for that. And I start with those little questions. I try to backtrack myself when you start going down this rabbit hole of thoughts of the only thing that can happen to me is X, Y, and Z, and then it builds from there. And I try to just like take that moment, take a deep breath. And sometimes I'm able to do that, but sometimes you're already down the rabbit hole and you have to pull yourself out.
Yeah, so for me, like, because it's been so work related, like, you know that me and you are both trying to be better about sleeping. So like I try and get to bed earlier, and like I can't do that at my job. Like we don't close until 1:00 Thursday through Saturday, and like we close at 12 the rest of the day. Like I worked yet Monday, and I got home at 1:30 on a Monday, like from work. Didn't like, not like I was out drinking or anything, or like closing up and then I had a couple beers after like I used to. Like I was just sitting there waiting to close, but like you can't, because that's the way it is. Those are our hours. We have to stay open. So for me, a lot of it's been just surrendering to the fact that like I need a job, you know what I mean? Like I have to make money. Like it's a good source of income. I do really well there, like, but I haven't been looking at the positives. You know what I mean? I've been sitting there like only picking out the negatives about a situation. Like if it's slow for like 30 minutes, I'm like, why am I here? I'm wasting my time. Like I'm not making money. I'm just standing here. And that's not true. I'm getting paid to be there regardless. Granted, it's not as much as I make when we're busy, but like at the same time, like you have to accept that. And for me, it's just been a lot of like looking the last week really, ever since I started writing, man, just like looking around and being like, what are you complaining about and why do you complain about it? Like, what's the reason that you're complaining about it? What would happen if you just let go of like the negative thoughts that you tie to this situation, or like any situation, to any kind of relationship? You can always step back and be like, instead of picking out what's good about it, be like, why do you think this is bad about it? And try and attack it from that angle. And I've been doing a lot of that the last couple of days, and like it's working out really well. I mean, I did have a breakdown yesterday for a little bit, like I talked to you, but like
it happens, man. That's part,
you get a good cry in there every now and then.
That's part of the growth, man.
Yeah.
And like I was discussing this with a friend last week, which is oftentimes we make things harder with our mindset. And like the thing that we happened to be talking about was like, it's getting colder outside. Something as simple as that, which that's about as far out of your control as you can imagine. The weather cannot be, you know, you have no impact on that. But oftentimes you find that the thing that is hard about it is not the cold. It's that you're like, oh man, it's cold outside. I don't know, you know, you're building that up, and you can look at it with anything, you know, and you can it even creeps in with habits that are good. I think, you know, you know, maybe you sit down and you don't want to meditate, or you don't want to read, or you don't want to journal. And it's like, are you having a difficult time with this because it actually is difficult for you? Or are you building up this mindset of how difficult it is in your head, and then you can't get yourself to do it because you've built up these preconceived notions that make it way more hard?
I agree. I think a lot of people do that, and you do it with a lot of things. Like
We do it with everything.
I was listening.
Everything.
I listened to Huberman on Joe Rogan the other day.
Yeah.
And they were talking about the cold plunge, like doing that every day. And Joe brought up the point. He's just like, it's not that, like, you just don't want to do it. Like, just get up and fucking do it. If you go do it, then it's done. And like, it's out of your control. You've done it now. Like,
We've
you don't
talked
have
about
to worry
this before,
about it.
yeah.
And I've been doing that the last couple days. Like, you notice when you're doing something hard and then you like stop and you start cleaning the house and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like you start doing tasks that aren't as hard as the task that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so the last 2 days, waking up in the morning, like I've been doing a cold shower for 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Like the last 2 days, just going and dealing with it. But you wake up in the morning and I have it written down in my room on a Post-it note. So it's like, wake up, take 3 deep breaths, get in the cold, and then do your routine.
Mm-hmm.
And the last 2 days, I've gotten in that cold shower, but not before I've waken up, taken 3 deep breaths, started meditating, made coffee. Should I read? Should I not read right now? Let me get in the shower first. Sitting there doing breath work. If I would have just woken up and gotten in the fucking shower, man, this is all over with. And I feel like we do that with a lot of things.
Uh-huh.
If you think something is hard, it's like, let me do something easy to make me feel like I've accomplished something, to try and build up to it. But if you just try and, if something is hard and you just do something a little bit harder than that, then that task becomes so easy.
Yeah, you're building undeniable evidence that you can do hard things. And that, like, when you wake up in the morning, I would say, other than maybe like right before you go to bed, I would say is probably the hardest point in your day to do that thing that is, you know, and in my opinion, like when you think about the things that are difficult in life and the things that are hard and the things that make you unhappy, a cold shower feels like nothing, you know? And so when you kind of like program your mind to do stuff like that, whether it's a cold shower, it's going for a run, or even if it's as simple as like, if like your mind goes that crazy that you need to meditate as soon as you wake up in the morning, when those challenging things that inevitably are going to come up, that you have no control over, that you're going to have to deal with, you'll have the evidence, you know, and like, obviously like, going in the cold shower is not the same as going through a breakup. But at the same time, like if you build up that tolerance within yourself of, I don't want to do this, but I can still do it. When those things come up that are, you know, awful that you don't want to deal with, it'll be easier because you'll have the evidence to say like, I know that I can do stuff like this.
Yeah.
I know that I'm built for this. I know I have the, you know what I mean? Every day for, you know, however long it is, I woke up and I did this, even when I didn't want to do it. That's the definition of discipline. And then that trains your mind to deal with that annoying person at work. And it's just like, well, if I put myself through this and I can do this, what is this?
Yeah.
I have no control over this.
That can't bother you, you know?
Yeah. I mean, what episode was that where we did doing hard things? Was that like episode 5?
I think it
Or
was
6?
episode 5.
Or 6, something like
5
that?
or 6, one of the two.
Yeah. But I think that also part of it is realizing that, keep that close to my face. Part of it is realizing that the hard thing isn't really that hard. And that like, you are not the definition of that thought that comes up that says, I can't do this. Because if you wake up every day and you say, I can't do this, and then you do it, eventually you're not going to be saying, I can't do this.
Yeah. It's like, if the way I kind of look at it is, if I feel like I have to do, if I don't want to do something, then I have to do it. You know what I mean? Like, if I wake up and I'm like, I don't want to do this today, like, I don't want to go, like, Wednesday and Saturday are the days that I don't go to the gym. I'll do yoga, I'll stretch and stuff, like, maybe a light workout at the house, but I don't go to the gym at all. So, like, yesterday, I didn't want to go to the gym at all. But, like, if I don't want to, I know that I need to. Like, that for me is my mind telling me, like, I need to do this today to get to where, like, I can be where I can best produce at. You know what I mean?
And if you continuously over time, like, turn away from that discipline, you obviously pay for it later in physical ways, mental ways, in your relationships, stuff like that. In my opinion, it's the same thing as when you're in a relationship with somebody or a friendship or whatever it is, and there's a difficult conversation that has to be had. What's the harder thing? Is the harder thing to have a conversation right now, like, dude, like what you did, that hurt my feelings, or we need to talk about this? Is that harder than 2 years down the road having your heart broken, or not having that person as a friend?
Yeah.
You know, like, I forget who says it, but it's that thing that's like, choose your hard. Do you want it to be hard today when you go to the gym, or you want it to be hard when you're 50 and you got heart disease?
Yeah.
You know, is your hard today like meditating and taking the time to take stock of your thoughts? Or when you're 50, do you want to turn around and be like, you know what? I never took time to take a deep breath and things have fallen apart inside my head.
Mm-hmm.
Choose that hard. And I wish that I could remember who was the person who said, it might have been Joe Rogan, honestly. It might have been. That sounds like something that he would, but like, it's all about that. Like,
I'm picturing Joe Rogan just saying what you just said.
Right?
It's in my head right now. I'm like, yeah, that does sound like Joe Rogan.
You want to be fat? You want to be a fat fuck? But I mean, I don't think that anybody can really disagree with that. You know, and it can be applied in all sorts of areas of your life. It's like, do you want to make the hard decision and eat right today, or do you want to go to McDonald's every day and then you got diabetes when you're 40?
Yeah.
What's harder? Eating healthy today, or fucking injecting yourself with insulin 4 times a day?
Especially if you don't like needles. Pick your heart.
yeah, exactly. I mean, whatever it is that whatever motivates you to do that, you know, and I think a lot of it is that process of, despite the fact that, you know, we encourage people to live in that present moment, but you have to do your future self a favor. Mm-hmm. Like, you have to look at that and think about that. And I was actually on the way down here listening to James Clear on a podcast, and he was like, well, oftentimes we get caught up in the outcome versus the journey of getting there. So he was saying he's like, nobody makes a news story about the guy who ate grilled chicken and a salad for lunch. It's not a news story until he loses 100 pounds.
Yeah.
But that's a victory for yourself today. Mm-hmm. Like, everybody wants to see that drastic transformation. Everybody wants to see like the difference between where you came from. But nobody looks at the everyday making that decision. And even along that journey of maybe you missed a day or two there, but you still got back on the horse and got back to it. Nobody wants to pay attention to that, but like, that is, in my opinion, just as enjoyable part, because you're building evidence that only you have of, I look out for myself. I take care of myself. I do things that my future self will thank me for. I do things that the people in my life will be grateful for. Mm-hmm. I don't do things that just revolve around what's the easiest way that I can slide through today. Yeah. And we all struggle. I think we all fall off the wagon with that. It's not easy to always make the decision to do that, but it's that idea of tuning into, I don't want to do this today, but I need to do it. Mm-hmm. What's the other option? What's the option that's not going to the gym? Sitting here playing Grand Theft Auto?
Yeah.
And that, believe me, like, I will not shit on that whatsoever, but like, you can't do that all day long either, though.
Yeah, you can't do it every day.
Yeah.
You know? It's resiliency, man.
Yeah.
I think that's the greatest thing that I've developed in the last year and a half at this point, has been resiliency. There's like days when like, I don't want to do shit, but I do it anyway. And like, there's things that people haven't seen about this journey for me, but like, I know, like you said, I know that they're there. Like, I know the days that I woke up and I let the rain win. I didn't go do what I wanted to do. And then I know that there's those mornings where I fucking was out there running in a hurricane, bro. Mm-hmm. And like, I did that for me, and like, nobody else needed to know about that. Like, mm-hmm. It's part of the path, you know?
It's that idea that, like, you know, that first, you know, depending on the task, maybe it's the first 30 seconds is the hardest part, or maybe it's the first 5 minutes or whatever it is. But there were days that you don't want to go to yoga, but then you go and you're like, never ever has someone been like,
that sucks.
that was horrible. Why did I do that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you'd be like, no, I'm proud of myself. I fucking did that. I did, and it's almost even more. I think it's even more the days where you have that motivation and you do that. That's the easy days. Those are great. That's not where your character is built. Your character is built on the day where you can say, I still went out and did this, even though my past thoughts were telling me that you can't do this, you don't deserve this. What's the point of doing this? It's just one day.
Yeah.
That is building that evidence of like, no, I know. And your brain learns from that. Like we talk about the evidence of it like mentally, but like your brain learns from that. You do things for long enough, you get tuned into like, eventually you get to the point where if it's hard, that becomes the motivating factor. It's almost like the more that you don't want to do it, the more you can lean into like, well, that just,
Yeah.
I'm just training myself to.
I do that when I'm running. When I'm like, I'm over this. So it's like 3 minutes. The 3 minutes to 5 minute mark is probably the hardest part of running for me. Once I get through that, then I'm just like, nothing's stopping me. Because at that point, it's just like in those 2 minute span, what's going through my mind is like, you got on here, you started running, like just get off. Like you don't need to finish this run. Like it's not that big of a deal. And then as I run through that, it's just like, nah, I'm on this fucking treadmill. Like, I'm shredding right now. I'm running as fast as I can, and like, I'm building myself up to be like stronger and better than I was the day before. And that gets me through that last minute to when I hit 5 minutes and I'm like, all right, I got 10 minutes left in this fucking workout. I put my head down and I will look at my feet and make sure I'm running a line, like exactly the way that my hips need to be moving. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm focusing on my breath. I'm doing all that shit. Because at that point, I don't fucking care anymore. You want to come be on the podcast?
It's the girl.
Welcome to the show.
It's the girl. This is what the people want, though.
Yeah.
This is what the people want.
This is Lola's first podcast. Hello, everybody. I'm here. What's up, girl?
What's up, girlie? She said, there's enough room for all three of us on the couch now.
Yeah.
You can sit there. You're good. But I mean, like, this is a good example of it. Just that, like, it would be very easy. I know you're all about getting your steps in. It can probably be very easy on some days to just walk around the block and then come back in.
Yeah, like if she goes to the bathroom right away, like, I don't have to keep going. I can come back in.
You don't have to, but then, it's like, but what's better for her?
Yeah.
And also, technically, what's better for you?
Yeah.
What's better for you is going on that, walking around for a few more, doing the thing, and I think that if you almost like, and it's a weird concept, but I think if you look at it like treating yourself like you would treat your friend, like one of the, I told you I've been reading, or I guess listening to Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. And one of the first ones that really resonated with me was, treat yourself like somebody that you're responsible for helping. So, and some of the examples he used was like, if your parents are older and you take care of them, you're way more likely to make a better decision for them than you are for yourself. And he also used the example of your pet. He used the example of that, like, most people are more like religious and dedicated to making sure their pet gets the medicine they need than they are about themselves.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to like get that perspective of like pulling yourself out and being like, I think I saw Mike talking about it, which is that like, if me and you talk to each other the way we talk to ourselves, we would not be fucking friends.
Yeah, no shot.
And, but then you think that like, but where does that come from? I'm not sitting around here coming up with insults for myself. It's like almost already there.
Yeah.
So if you kind of, it's almost, it's a weird way of looking at it, but like if you can look at yourself like, that's somebody who I'm responsible for taking care of. Nobody's going to come and save me. Like, nobody's going to make me take my medicine or go for that run or go to the gym or take 2 minutes to take a couple deep breaths so I don't freak out on somebody. Nobody's going to do that but you. But oftentimes we have the tendency to, hey, buddy, are you okay? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. And then not even paying attention to, how are you doing? What's going on? What's going on with you? Like, are you taking the steps to make small changes for yourself? Or are you, it's in a way, I don't know, I don't really have another word to say it. In a way, it's hypocritical because we preach this thing of like, treat others the way that you want to be treated and blah, 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 blah. And also, we wouldn't take that disrespect from somebody else.
Yeah.
But then you turn around, no way. But then you turn around and you talk to yourself like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I've struggled with it for years, but when you can do those things and you build up that evidence about yourself, it changes that self-talk.
Yeah.
The self-talk is different.
So that's like, like surrendering. Like I've surrendered to I know when I hear that voice in my head, that ain't me. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of just like, it's not like I don't listen. Like I just fade it out. You know what I mean? It's tuned down low. It's like on 5. The volume's not high at all. Like, and that's from doing it every day. I never realized, I'm thinking about it now. Like, I wonder how far in I really was on this journey because I feel like they've turned off a lot of the stuff I was telling myself about what I couldn't do at the beginning of this. I don't hear anymore. I don't know if I've just programmed the other thoughts in there so well that
but you've built up a resume that says I've meditated this many days in a row, and it's not necessarily about the streak or anything like that, but you have that thing that says that you looked at that voice and you said, no, I'm going to keep doing it. Mm-hmm. And eventually, just like a person would, if you kept putting it down, eventually it's going to give up and try to find another place to go.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting conversation.
Yeah, we didn't plan this at all.
No. But I mean,
no, it's true though.
And that, again, surrendering. We've been doing this for long enough now. We know how to podcast. We can have a conversation that can be recorded and put out.
We know that if
we talk about random things, and that's just comes with, we've done this a bunch of times. Set everything up, set up the sound, and just let it fly, man.
Mm-hmm. But I think an important part of it too is that when you have things like these, which fortunately, I feel very blessed to have this. And I never, even despite the fact that it took me 2 hours to drive here this morning, I wasn't upset about it. I wanted to do this. Mm-hmm. So also pay attention to make sure that when you have something that you enjoy and that you like doing, and maybe there's money involved, maybe there's social media influence involved, whatever it might be, remember to enjoy it yourself. Mm-hmm. If the
art is for you, it's not for anyone else.
Shout out to
Rick Rubin, yeah. And I'm
he said,
digging that, but
yeah. He said I don't set goals, right? He said because I think they might limit me.
Yeah. Fucking, but that's the truth, man. Everything is for you. At the end of the day, it's always just going to be you. You got to take care of yourself before you can take care of anybody else. Mm-hmm. And it can be hard, but if you just fucking do it, Joe Rogan said, just go fucking do it, mm-hmm. and then it's done. And and then you can turn around and be like, I did that for myself.
Yeah, and don't forget that those thoughts and those things that tell you that you can't do that, those didn't come from nowhere. That took, whether you were, it's almost like if you weren't working on it, then that was taking over. Mm-hmm. And the more that you let that take over, now you have more work to do. Mm-hmm. And there's really no other way of looking at it, which is, do you want to live continuously your life like that, day to day to day to day to day, trying to just get by?
It's a never-ending job to have better thoughts and to think better about yourself and to take care of yourself, but it's also a never-ending job to just succumb to those negative thoughts and being unhappy.
That didn't get there by accident.
Yeah, like, so choose.
Mm-hmm.
Which one would you rather have?
And it doesn't necessarily mean that it was your fault. You know, a lot of the stuff that comes from is, you know, maybe stuff in your childhood or things that were out of your control.
Mm.
But even if, you know, it's weird to say, but like, did you put the work in to get to that point of letting your thoughts get the best of you? Well, all that means is that now you have to combat that, and you have to figure out, and people do it in all sorts of different ways, whether it's physical activity or mental activity or going to a therapist or whatever it might be. But it's all about if you like can, I guess, grab onto that. I don't even know if the end of that made sense.
There was something that you said and I lost it. I was like looking for it. But there was something you said that definitely referred to that book. And I don't even know what you said now. We'd have to play it back.
Gotta stop getting high, man. I'm just playing.
So, I mean, we're just letting it fly.
Yes. We're experimenting, new camera angles.
Yeah.
Lola's on the podcast.
Yeah, you guys let us know what you think. Download the episode, please.
Truly, if you do want to support us, the best metric that you can do that is to download our episodes on whatever app that you listen to, Spotify, Apple. If you're one of those weirdos who's on something else,
we just found out,
but we don't know what that is.
We just realized that this statistic matters, so.
Yeah, so if you're gonna listen, just download it. And then also, if you're listening to it driving around and you lose service, you'll still be able to hear us.
Yeah.
You'll be sitting in
don't
traffic,
anywhere.
everybody else will have no service, and you'll hear the sweet, sweet voices of Steve and JP.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's what I do. Like when I, because I'm always driving on those back roads to get like through Newburgh and shit, and I'm like, if I want to listen to a podcast and then I don't download it when I'm at home, then like you'll just be spurting in and out. So
I hate that.
yeah, so super tip for you if you want to, you know, whether you're at home listening or you're going on the road or whatever, that is a huge way that takes 2 seconds that you can support us. So we would very much appreciate it if any, like in any way. Also commenting and engaging with our stuff when we post it on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube or whatever it is helps people who are like you who want to learn from what we're doing help other people see that. Because as we all know, the Instagram algorithm is unless you've got 40 million followers and 2% of your audience is a couple 100,000 people.
Yeah. Jesus, imagine.
Hey, you gotta dream big, man. I was watching that there's that clip of Andrew Schultz is a favorite of ours on here, so I'm gonna bring him up again, which is that I think it was either on his podcast or he was a guest on somebody else's, and he was saying comedians will be like, you know, I just want to make a living on this shit. You know, I just want to like get by, have, you know, and he said, and that's all you'll ever do.
Yep.
So you got, you know, and maybe, you know, and maybe that's okay. You know, there's nothing wrong with just making a living, doing something, but in some capacity, you have to create that opportunity for yourself in your own mind and put it out there so the universe knows it's there and that it knows that that's what you want. So if, you know, if right now what you want is to just like be able to pay the bills and get by, I totally respect that. But maybe like once you get to that point, start thinking bigger, because it can get bigger than that. You know, in the beginning of this podcast, this was just do it.
Yeah.
But then like now we're obviously not thinking about the same goals for it as we were. In the beginning, it was just do it. And we may only be, I mean, I like to think that we've only touched 1% of our episodes for the future. But
we have a lot
obviously our goals have changed, and like what we look towards has changed based on the fact that this is different today than it was in the middle of August in your yard
Yeah.
when we weren't even recording
In the middle of August, this was the vision. Like, let's get to somewhere where we're inside and it looks nice and like we can record with real equipment.
And I don't think we ever. I don't know, man. I guess, like I said, at that moment, it was just to get to the point of we want people to be able to hear and see us clearly, right?
Yeah.
But now we've gotten to that point with a couple of bumps in the road, but we've gotten there. And now we're not just going to sit here and be complacent like this is.
Next, we're gonna open our own planet.
I thought you were gonna say island. I was gonna be like, that's risky.
No, I want a planet, bro.
I want my own thing that orbits outside the moon. So that the moon is like the Earth's bitch, yo.
So how's your first podcast going? She said, I think I'm leaving. That's not good for ratings.
Huh?
That's not good for ratings if the dog doesn't want to
You need to be in this as much as possible, Lola, so you can be in the thumbnail.
She said, I'm back.
Okay. I come back. All right, fine. I'll do it.
What's your favorite kind of dog?
What's my favorite kind of dog? Brenda, like, I love those Australian dogs, man.
Yeah.
Noah changed my life.
My favorite type of dog is seal. And it's this one.
Yeah, come on, lay down. You can lay down.
So what have you been writing about?
Well, lately, since we talked about this in the last episode, I've been doing a little bit more writing in terms of trying to write some jokes. I'm trying to get in there with, get in the process of doing stand-up, and it's, I haven't gotten up anywhere, obviously. But one of the things that I've realized is that the ideas that you limit yourself on are that it's the best way I can explain it is that I realized that the only thing that was keeping me from being able to do that was that I told myself that I couldn't do it and that it wasn't good enough to do it.
I wrote in my journal on the second day of writing. I was just like going on about like defining the style of how I'm going to write. And then I was like, you know what? My writing has no style.
Mm-hmm.
I abide to no laws. I write however I write, whenever it comes to my mind, whatever I want to put down. And it's been really nice because I don't judge myself when I write now. I just like the 2 days after that, I've just been like, if I literally stop thinking of things to write, like my hand is moving because my mind's going, and it's the second my mind stops or gets quiet, I just stop writing and I walk away from my journal.
Yeah,
I'm like, that's good. I got it all out clearly because I don't know what to put next. So like, let's just stop right here.
Yeah, and something that I've always struggled with, which is that like you want like immediate success. You want it to be good right off the bat. You want the thing that comes out right away to be incredible and amazing. Yeah. And with your writing and with me doing jokes and attempting to make that a part of my life, it's a way of accepting that things evolve. So like now what I try to get in the habit of is if I think of something funny or somebody says something, or does something or whatever it might be that I feel like I could maybe use for material, I don't judge that idea and be like, oh no, this could never be anything. I just take note of that. And then maybe 3 months from now, I'll be looking through my little notebook and I'll see that and that'll ignite something else or it will remind me of something else. And it's like accepting the fact that like, for you to come up with good ideas,
other ideas have to come out.
Yeah, and most of them are going to be I don't like using the word bad, but they're not in their full form. They're not what you
it's not what inspires you at the moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's a process of, because right now, I mean, obviously the most scary thing for me is like I got to get to that 1%, which the 1% is you got to get on stage. You know, you got to get up there, you got to do it, you got to face the fear. And in a way, you know, it's kind of like just with your writing, which is that like you got to accept it's going to be bad in the beginning. And maybe bad isn't even a good enough word to describe it, you know,
Yeah.
but
like I said, my writing has no category.
yeah, I abide by no laws except the right on red in New York City. But and it's a way for me, and in a lot of ways it's been very freeing because I've talked about it. I talked about it a little bit on the podcast, but I've told people like my parents about it, and I even said to you that like I was nervous to tell you this because you think that everybody is going to tell you that you can't do it or that you're thinking, and it's not even that you need somebody or that I need somebody to be like, no, you can do it. Like you're good enough to do it. It's not that. It's that you start to realize like, wow, how many years did I, whether it was that particular thing or something else, did I let my own preconceived thoughts about what somebody else, like basically making somebody else's mind up for them, get in the way of me doing something.
Yeah.
You know, like I genuinely, like when I told my dad, I and it's not any reflection of who he is as a person or the way that he's supported me throughout my whole life. It's more of a reflection of when you try something that is scary for you, you may be looking for an excuse for somebody else to tell you that, no, you can't do this, so you're not going to do it. Or you let the thought of, I can't do this, be the end of it. And I think that what we talked about earlier is a great example that feeds into that, which is, excuse me, oftentimes people see, and it all depends on things, and I'm not saying that everybody should try what I'm doing, but I'm saying that oftentimes the thing that scares you the most is the thing that you should be doing. Because in a way, how I see it, you know, and I've kind of put it out there so that I can't back down on this, which is that to me, the hardest thing will be getting up there and doing this for the first time. But once I've done that, that will be much more than just getting up there. It'll be like, no. Like, for years, I was scared to do this, and I never told anybody about it, or I never really got deep into it, and I just kind of like messed it around like it was a joke, and blah, 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 as a way of defending myself. So then it would be like, well, he's not gonna do anything. And then you find yourself being like, why did I let... Because it's not even what other people think, it's what you think of what other people think.
I told myself I couldn't write for so long because I didn't think I was an artistic person, and I thought of writing as an artistic form of expression, and like, because I wasn't that type of person, like, because I like to drink and like play sports and stuff, I was like, I'm not a writer.
Yeah.
What the fuck does that mean, man? And why are you telling yourself that, you know? Like, if you keep having these thoughts about wanting to write stuff down, clearly you fucking like to write, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, why do you get in your way like that?
Yeah, the thing that, or what's getting in your way is something other than, I like doing this and it helps me feel better. And I think that a lot of it too is, especially in today's day and age where there's so much like money to be made on any type of service or thing that you do, that
you scare yourself because you're like,
well, no, but you
can I make money off of like? And
no, but you lose
the
you lose the fun aspect of it. Like you forget that like this isn't about like I would, if you really want to do comedy, like, is it like, it's not that I want to be, it's not that I want to, I mean, I would love to have $500 million, you know, obviously, but that's not why I want to do it.
Yeah.
I want to do it because like,
and
I'm curious about it, and I think that, like, I said it in your recap episode, which is, I started to think about it, and I'm like, what makes me happier than making somebody laugh? Whether it's you or my mom or a fucking stranger.
Yeah.
So like, what am I doing depriving myself of that? You know, and it could, I don't, and the genuine part about it is because I feel like when you get to this point in your life, or our age, there becomes a tendency to, like we mentioned earlier in the episode, to think that the way it's been is the way is always going to be. And if you stay in that mindset, you won't be willing to try things. Like, I'm so intimidated by this because people start doing it when they're fucking 17 or 20 or even 25. To me sounds like a nice age that I'd like to start doing this at. But I can I can either try and at least like say that, like, even if I fail at it, I'm horrible at it, whatever it is, at least I can say I tried it and it wasn't for me. But I don't want to be.
That's not going to happen either. You're going to try it and you're going to get off stage and you're going to be like, I can't wait to fucking go.
I hope so. Yeah. I don't know. Like,
no, I know.
And I think in a way, even just the way I'm talking about it now and being like, oh yeah, I might fail, like, is a way of protecting myself to be like, well, at least like I saw it coming, you know? But I don't think it's just like how I talked about in the interview, which is that if in some way, any type of creative work or thing that you're passionate about that could make you money, could get you to network with people, whatever it might be, if it doesn't have that little extra edge of your authentic self is involved in it and you really care about it and you want to do well at it, then you got to find something else to put that energy into. You know, a lot of us put all of our energy into our jobs, our vices, and into things that are kind of empty. And like, yeah, of course, I would love to have millions of dollars and be a successful comedian. That sounds fucking fantastic. But what doesn't sound great is also like opening up, and yeah, I would love to have $50 million doing another business, but I'd rather be basically broke doing that and just getting by versus be 50 and have $50 million, but be, you know, empty and have nothing. Like, yeah, of course, like money is great, but that isn't going to fill the void of, especially for someone like myself, who's an artist, who like that I could have $1 in my bank account or 30 million and that itch still isn't going to be scratched unless I'm doing something else. And it doesn't mean that you can't pursue multiple things at one time. But at the same time, that's why, like, I think that if we were doing this podcast for a motive outside of the fact that we like doing this and we want to spread the word and, you know, just make people feel not alone, we may have given up by now. You know, we may have said like, well, we're not getting as many downloads as we liked. We're not getting monetization. We're not doing this. We're not doing that. But that's always been an afterthought for us.
It'll come on its own.
Of course, the central thought has always been like, this is what we do.
My belief is that if there's something that you want to do, and if it's that book, man. It's the 7 Spiritual Laws. If there's something that you like to do,
you're gonna get me a pocket one for Christmas.
And yeah, I might get everyone one. If you download the podcast, I will personally send you a copy of the 7 Spiritual Laws when we monetize this. But like, it says it right in there. The law of Dharma is living in your doing something that when you're doing it, you don't know how much time is going by, and you're happy doing it. And it's perfectly fine to make money off of that. You know? So, like, I really want us to help people with this. Like, that is first and foremost the biggest goal.
Yeah, of course.
Is, like, a podcast help me, and I'd like our podcast to help someone else.
Yeah. Like,
that's the return on investment for me. And then as we grow it, there's more people that can be helped, and that's what I'd like to do. And eventually, like, if that leads to us making money off of it because enough people are downloading it and listening to it, and people want to advertise through us, like, for services that work with the podcast, like, with our ideals,
with our purpose, yeah.
Like, then I'm okay with that, you know? Like, why would I fight against that? Like, the universe has this already planned out for us, man. We're just going with the flow. Our job is to show up here and talk in the mic and say what's on our mind and from our version of our truth to let it impact other people.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. That was very. The writing is working.
Yeah. Right?
Right?
I can articulate things now.
Right? But that, yeah. And
I want to inspire other people to live. I feel like right now, me and you are both living in our Dharma. And I'd like to inspire other people to do that, no matter what that is for them. As long as it's not killing and eating people. Like, I'm okay. I endorse it. Like, go do what's best for you. You know?
I like how you threw in eeating people. Like that one, like the killing's fine, but like you kill them and then you eat them. Don't listen to our podcast. Maybe
we're not into that.
You ever heard that theory that everybody gets one?
Yeah. Oh man.
We like to mess around here. We weave through several.
We're trying to be a comedian, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
it's got to be light moments.
Yeah, and there has to.
You can't cry every episode.
No, I can't. Yeah, I was cutting that episode. Was it 2 days ago? And I was like, wow, like you can feel. Like because I hadn't gone back and watched it until I cut that episode, and you go back and you're like, wow, like you can. Maybe it's the close-up angles, but you can really feel the emotion in the room, and like there is some long pauses in there. I hope you guys, when you listen, don't think that the episode's cutting off, but there's some long pauses in there where we take, it's mostly myself, but you take time to be like, I need to process what is happening here.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great lesson for anything, which is that, like, let's take a moment right now, bro, to enjoy this. It's not all about what we say on here. It's not about, like, what's the next clip. Like, we enjoy doing this. And at the end of the day, isn't that a reward in itself? And I think that if you put enough genuine energy into something like that, and it builds and you get enough momentum and you get people on board. And like I said, even if our podcast helps you, like, even if you just meditate one day because you heard us talk about it, or you pick up a book that we talk about, or most importantly, if you try that thing that you're scared to, then our job is done.
Yeah.
Well, it's really never done, but you know what I mean? Like, I feel accomplished by that. And I know that it has helped people. People have told me that. And it's even amazing to see, like, people who are, because I don't want to judge anything like that, but like people, I think there were a lot of people in our circle who were skeptical of this in the beginning, and maybe thought that it would fade out, or maybe thought that it wouldn't have any substance to us, whatever it is. I think that, and I'm not saying that they thought that about us. I just think that when you start something new,
there's always people that judge it.
Yeah, well, but it's like I said, it's those thoughts that aren't even you. But it comes up that you're scared to do something. But even from what we started to what we've done, what we're doing right now, like in this room, we've brought other people on board who were super skeptical at first, but then say, like, wow, like, it's amazing to see, like, how much you guys have changed, how much it looks different. And I like to think that our conversations are getting better, and that the biggest part of that is that we feel more comfortable. I think in the beginning, we were figuring out how we were going to appear and what it was going to look like, and what is our brand, what is our like, it's very cliche to say it, but Gary Vee says it, like, we're the brand.
Yeah.
It's not about the, like, our logo is great. We
have an aesthetic.
Yeah. It's great. Like, you got, you gotta have that. But at the end of the day,
it's us.
It's and it's not even necessarily what we say. It's what we bring to the world in general. I like to think that this podcast has changed the way I look about everything, because this proved that you could just have an idea and have literally nothing else. And
we manifested a lot.
It could turn into this. Like,
just keep going, man. Don't ever fucking stop going.
You too, man. Yeah, it's and say it all the time, but it's a beautiful thing,
Yeah.
you know? And the best part about it is that it doesn't feel like, I guess, like work.
No. It's
It's never felt that way. Like I said, we've never had to
we just
force ourselves to do this.
we've gotten the setup down to 30 minutes. Takes us to
Yeah.
get ready.
It took
We
us like
sit
2
down.
hours in the beginning.
Yeah, we sit down. We just
And we had like
hang out.
half the equipment.
Yep. Isn't that crazy?
we have,
We have more equipment now, and it takes us less time to set up.
But I think that, and maybe this is more so on myself, and I think maybe you can see it better than I can, which is that like I've really let go of that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Of like this needs to be
So
perfect.
excited
This
at the
needs to
beginning.
line up. Like I would look at the fucking phones like 16 times.
And we were just shooting one angle straight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now there's 3 cameras around.
Yeah. We had USB microphones like.
Yeah.
And I can't even explain how I've let go of that, but somehow, because what we get to do and when we record is such an enjoyable and cathartic experience, I think, for both of us, that it doesn't matter if the camera's a little whatever, or maybe like when I laugh, the fucking my sound goes through the roof, but like.
It is what it is, man.
You know, but it's also like it happens on the most professional podcast out there.
Yeah.
You know, and I think letting go of this needs to be as good as X podcast, or this needs to sound.
Non-competition. I just read that chapter. I know you've read it. Like that was in there.
I've basically read the whole book off of what you've told me from that book.
Oh no! I'm talking about
the Creative Act?
the Rick Rubin one.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
the non-competition. I've just crossed that chapter like yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I read a couple out of it, and that was one of the ones that was in there. And it was like, don't compete. It's not art if you're competing against somebody.
Yeah.
The only person you should ever be in competition with, and it's not even a competition, is yourself.
Yeah.
And by that he means like you're not trying to you don't have to outdo yourself. It's just expressing who you are and how you are in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Because whatever you make before this and whatever you make after this will never be the same as what you're making right now, because there's only this moment.
He has that, and I don't even know if this was in the book or not.
We listen to him so much.
But I've definitely heard him talk about this, which is that he was a producer on Toxicity, the album by System of a Down that had Chop Suey on it,
Yeah.
which is like arguably like their most iconic song, like that defines that genre in some ways, you know. And apparently that chorus where he's like, trust in my self-righteous suicide, they couldn't figure out something to put there, and apparently Rick Rubin was like, open up that book and just find a page and point to something, and that's what was there.
Mm. Yeah.
But and like that's probably a grand, incredible example, obviously, because that song became huge and honestly to this day still is huge. But it came from, we have nothing. We don't know what to put here. So let's leave it up to the universe.
Yeah.
And I genuinely believe, like, I don't think he's making that up at all.
Neither do I.
I don't think he's making that up
There's way too many instances
at
of it.
all. And I'm sure that he has all sorts of examples of things like that in different ways, that when you try to have this chokehold on the project needs to be this way, or the joke needs to be this way, or the journal entry even that's just for yourself needs to be this way, you're like building this wall around yourself.
Mm.
And we build walls around ourselves in all sorts of ways. Like, and it can be as small as something like that, like your journal entry, but then it can grow into, before you know it, you're in a well that's 20 feet high that you've told yourself, like, I am this, I am this, I am this, I am this, I am this. And that's fine. Like, you can be those, like that's fine, but don't ever, as soon as what's the saying by like the philosopher that's like, the person who believes he can and the person who believes he can't are both right.
Mhm. Yeah.
But it's the same thing as that mindset of, if you've already made your mind up about how this is going to go, where do we have to go? Like,
I know
where are you going to go if you're building this within your mind?
Mhm.
And I'm certainly not going to sit here and be like, I've completely shattered that, but sometimes something isn't, like when we came in here today, I didn't think that we'd set up the camera angles like this.
I don't know.
I didn't think that
I
this
thought
would
we
be
were
a
going
thing.
with what we normally do.
Yeah, of course. But that's
Fuck it.
But that's what came up, and that is the thing. Like, we easily could have just been like, this is how we do it. This is how it's going to look every time.
Mhm.
But we were like, why not? And so now that opens our mind up, just that, like, all right, well, what's something different or interesting that we can test out next time?
Mhm.
You know, how could we do this with a guest? How will this, and
Yeah.
I think little by little, if you can start to like break down that wall of, I can only be this, I can only do this, I'm only a bartender, I'm only a podcaster. And believe me, there's nothing wrong with being really good at something and staying in your lane, but in what ways can maybe you expand outside of your lane? It doesn't have to be the same and cohesive and perfect every single time, because
Growing's not that.
and an imperfection can be the thing that everybody loves. Like, for instance, we were so, like, I shouldn't say we, maybe I was so obsessed with making this, in the beginning of this podcast, make it look perfect, have great video, have great sound, blah blah blah. The first feedback that we got was, I love how raw your guys' podcast is.
Yeah. That's not what you were going for.
It's not what I was going for at all. And like, at first I was like, nah, they got to be lying. But
No, they're not. They kept
and
watching.
multiple people said that that I know in different ways. And you don't know what will resonate with people. You don't know what could be the thing that defines this.
Yeah.
But if you just say that, like, we set the camera up, bing, 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 every single time, it looks like this. blah,
Would it
blah, blah.
still be raw if we
Like,
went
we'll
back
get people to
my
listen to
parents'
this
deck?
just because this will look different,
Mhm. Would you think it would still be raw if we went back to my parents' deck and set up 3 cameras and used this equipment, but just shot it in the same location?
I think it would still be raw. I mean, our conversation is raw. I think that, I think in a way, what they were saying was not that.
The way it looked.
The technicality of it, I think what they were saying was that you guys are literally genuinely just sitting down and having a conversation.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel like we still do that.
my dad said
We
said to
only
me
didn't
about-
do that for one episode, and it was the 3rd one when we stumbled and ate shit.
Yeah.
When we couldn't get anything accomplished.
But we put it
And was
out.
because we tried to fucking force it.
And we were like, no, we have this figured out.
Yeah.
And then the universe was like,
Nah.
no, you
son.
don't. No, you don't.
You got one episode,
you
bro.
guys are cool. Yeah. And it's important, I think, to recognize, like my dad said to me, he said, that episode where Steve interviewed you was incredible. And he's like, and it wasn't incredible because of necessarily, like, I don't know, the content or how we filmed it or whatever. He's like, it's because nobody could have interviewed you like Steve could have.
Mhm.
Like, nobody would be able to ask you, like, ask you the question. That would have been a very different interview if even somebody who was super close to me but wasn't you interviewed me. And who knew that, like, that would be the, you think that, oh, it'll be the technicality or how it looks, or no. Like, and yeah, it's my dad. He's gonna listen regardless. Shout out to him. But at the same time, like, he's right. I'm sure that other people thought that, and like, maybe they're not close enough to me to say something like that. But I didn't, you go into that interview and, like, obviously, but I didn't think that what would be special about it was the fact that you would be able to ask me those questions. I was so in my head, but then you get there, and because I was open to it, something totally different happened.
Mhm.
We thought, I thought that the interview would be more like, where are you headed? Where are you going? What's the next step? What are the changes that you've made that you're going to go into the next thing? And it really ended up being like the total opposite.
Why are you here?
Which was conquering and getting to those things that you keep in your subconscious that maybe only if your best friend asked you, like, how did you feel about that? It ignites a whole nother thing. But if I went into it like, I need to be this way, I need to not get emotional, it would be a totally different thing. And I maybe I wouldn't be, like I said, after that day, I felt like I did mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
That's how intense that was. And it's, you know how much I struggle with expectations. So in a way, that's what this has taught me, which is that you can't expect it. You just have to do what you think is right or what feels good or what you think the universe aligns with and take it from there. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't, but it never hurt anybody to be authentic and put that stuff out there.
Yeah, man. Back to surrendering again.
Yeah, we come full circle. It's like we don't even try, but we come right back to it. Yeah.
Well, on that note,
I feel like I rambled there for a while. I think you got to say a little bit more stuff before.
Yeah, I'm cool with it. We'll have her spot.
We have the dogs.
Oh, shout out to all the dogs.
This is our For All the Dogs episode.
My friend Mr. Munch in Cornwall. Dr. Ian. You good boy. All right, man. Well, that was Who Thought We'd Be Here. I think this is probably going to be episode 17 at this point. 17.
Well, no, like our numbers are going to change, yeah.
17.
This will be
18,
16, I
16,
think.
17, 18, something like that.
Yeah.
We record.
This will probably come out in the new year, maybe.
Well, thanks for listening, guys.
But this will be, yeah.
Don't forget to download.
This was fun. We appreciate your support.
Yeah.
And let us know what you think of this different
Feedback,
setup that we
please.
tried.
We love feedback.
Yeah, we love feedback. Any type of comments or, even if you see us out in person,
Yeah.
we're very accepting to that too. Shout out to everybody who's listened so far and all the people who have come along with us. Huh?
All the clumps.
We got to come up with maybe our fan base isn't big enough just yet, but we got to come up with a name for our fan base. Because it can't be like the Who Thought We'd Be Hearers. Hearers.
It's right now.
We could call them Lolas, bro.
Yeah.
Just like Mike calls them Steves. We could literally have Steves. Just saying.
Oh. One day we'll be there.
Yeah.
One day he'll be sitting in the middle.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll come back to that clip when he's on this podcast.
Exactly.
All that glitters and gold. I had money, been broke. I've been high, I've been low. I done picked it-